Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Book Release Roundup. In this series, what I'm going to try to do is find any books that are set to be released this week and pick a handful that stand out to me and give them all to you. My selection isn't really limited to any one type of book or anything like that. I'm choosing anything that catches my eye. Right now, I'm using Amazon as my main go-to source, looking at the published date, but that will change in the future as I figure out better ways to find stuff. So don't be surprised if we see some weird books, because there are a lot of weird books on Amazon. Yeah. So I'm going to give you the book title and the author, and then I'm going to read you a bit of the back cover copy that I can find. Sound good? All right. It's 1941, and Captain Alexander M. Riley and his crew of deep-sea treasure hunters believe they're setting off on yet another adventure to find a mysterious artifact off the coast of Morocco for an enigmatic millionaire with questionable motives, part-time smugglers, world travelers, and expats who have fought causes both valiant and doomed. Riley and his crew soon find themselves in the crosshairs of a deal much more dangerous than any one they bargained for. From Spain to Morocco to an Atlantic crossing that leads to Washington, D.C., Captain Riley must set his sail. The Pingaron? The Pingaron? Straight through the eye of a ruthless squall and into a conspiracy that goes by the name Operation Apocalypse. With a K. A storm that only he and his crews can navigate. You know it's cool because Apocalypse has a K. This is book number 6 in a series. I'm not going to start at book 6, so I went back and looked up what the first book is, and I'll start from there. So the first book in the Kings and Sorcerers series is Rise of the Dragons. Kira, 15, dreams of becoming a famed warrior like her father, even though she is the only girl in a fort of boys. As she struggles to understand her special skills, her mysterious inner power, she realizes she is different than the others. But a secret is being kept from her about her birth and the prophecy surrounding her, leaving her to wonder who she really is. The cover of book 6, Night of the Bold, caught my eye, so I'm gonna take a look at the first book in the series, and then maybe if I like it, I'll eventually make my way to book 6. That's weird. I went to school with pennypackers. Pax and Peter have been inseparable since Peter rescued him as a kit. But one day, the unimaginable happens. Peter's dad enlists in the military and makes him return the fox to the wild. At his grandfather's house, 300 miles away from home, Peter knows he isn't where he should be, with Pax. He strikes out on his own despite the encroaching war, spurned by love, loyalty, and grief to be reunited with his fox. Meanwhile, Pax, steadfastly waiting for his boy, embarks on adventures and discoveries of his own. This stood out to me because A, the last name of the author, don't see that too often. B, it's a kid's book and it has a fox on the cover, and it's about a boy and his fox. It looks super interesting, so I'm going to check this out eventually. The U.S. military is preparing to withdraw from Iraq, and newly minted Lieutenant Jack Porter struggles to accept how it's happening, through alliances with warlords who have Arab and American blood on their hands. Day after day, Jack tries to assert his leadership in the sweltering, dreary atmosphere of Ashuria. Whoa! Ashuria? But his world is disrupted by the arrival of veteran Sergeant Daniel Chambers, whose aggressive style threatens to undermine the fragile peace that the troops have worked so hard to establish. I picked this one because my reading over the past 5 years or so has been mostly genre fiction, so I'm starting to try to branch out into still fiction, but just different, a broader kind of spectrum of fiction. And to be honest, the graphic design of the cover caught my eye. And then when I heard it was about the war in Iraq, I haven't read too many fiction, or I haven't read any fiction based around that at all. So I thought it would be an interesting change of pace from what I usually read. In Lisbon, in 1904, a young man named Tomás discovers an old journal. It hints at the existence of an extraordinary artifact that, if he can find it, would redefine history. Traveling in one of Europe's earliest automobiles, he sets out in search of this strange treasure. 35 years later, a Portuguese pathologist devoted to the murder mysteries of Agatha Christie finds himself at the center of a mystery of his own, and drawn into the consequences of Tomás's quest. 50 years on, a Canadian senator takes refuge in his ancestral village in northern Portugal, grieving the loss of his beloved wife. But he arrives with an unusual companion, a chimpanzee. And there, the century-old quest will come to an unexpected conclusion. This was another one that the title caught my eye first, The High Mountains of Portugal. And then there's a small tagline on the cover. You'll see it up there. This was from the author of The Life of Pi. Now, I haven't read that yet, but I know that a lot of people love that book and enjoy that author, so it stuck out to me. Sharon Angier's status as a sensitive is both a gift and a curse. Her augmented senses allow her to discover and feel things others can't. But her talents come with a price. A constant assault of emotions and sensations that has left her blind. Determined to use her abilities as best she can, Sharon works tirelessly as an investigator for the Larosan army. A member of the royal family's guard, Mikhail Lee, also possesses an overwhelming power. He dreams of the deaths of others, sometimes in vivid, shocking detail, and sometimes in cryptic fragments and half-remembered images. But then a killer brings a reign of terror to the city, snuffing out his victims with an arcane and deadly blood magic. Only Sharon can sense and interpret Mikhail's dim, dark dreams of the murders, and what they find together will lead them into a nightmare. The cover caught my eye on this one, and the title, Dreaming Death. This one looked good. I'm going to check it out. The problem I'm finding with all these is I'm going to end up buying all of these, and it's not going to be cheap, and I'm going to have to read all of these books. Most of these books. Magic is powerful, dangerous, and addictive, and after the passage of the 18th Amendment, it is finally illegal. It's 1926 in Washington, D.C., and while anti-sorcery activists have achieved the prohibition of sorcery, the city's magic underworld is booming. Sorcerers cast illusions to aid mobsters' crime sprees. Smugglers funnel magic contraband in from overseas. Gangs have established secret performance venues where patrons can lose themselves in magic and take a mind-bending, intoxicating elixir known as the Sorcerers Shine. This one, the cover didn't do much for me. When I read this little bit of copy that I just read for you, instantly hooked. Right away, it made me think of if somebody took the movie Untouchables and mixed it with the Dresden Files. So kind of a, hey, 1920s American gangster, see? And I'm a wizard. I'm going to love this book. I can already tell. It's going to be good. So this is another one where this is the book that's getting released, but because it's a sequel, I'm going to read you the copy off of the first book. The first book is titled Rise of a Legend. Running away from her catastrophic life, historical journalist Eva McKay joins an archaeological dig at the battleground of London Hill. Unearthing the seal of William Wallace, Eva gains notoriety. But her dreams of Bowie knives, the weapon that murdered her husband, morph into great swords and dirks. Drawn into a ruined monastery, Eva drifts into the worst nightmare of all, awakening to the sharp point of a madman's sword. She's hurled into the midst of a bloody 13th century battle. Just when certain death is imminent, All right, I'm going to have to stop for a second. I'm pretty sure they meant just when certain death is imminent. Because imminent, that's, no. Just when certain death is imminent, brutal arms surround the lass, dragging her deeper into unknown terror. When Eva realizes she's been hauled to the hideout of rebel William Wallace, a revelation dawns. She's landed the story of a lifetime, if she can stay alive and find a way home to tell her tale. What she doesn't count on is her mounting chemistry with the greatest legend Scotland has ever known, or the absolute love swelling in her heart. This is a thing. This is a thing. This is a book about a time traveler that falls in love with William Wallace. And I'm loving it. No joke here. I'm going to buy this and read this. Simply because it has to do with William Wallace. And I never thought that anyone would write a romance book centering around William Wallace. I love Braveheart. Harmony Black is much more than your average FBI special agent. In addition to being a practicing witch, she's also an operative for Vigilant Locke, an off-the-books program created to battle occult threats by any means necessary. Despite her dedication to fighting the monsters threatening society, Harmony has become deeply conflicted about her job. Her last investigation resulted in a pile of dead bodies, and she suspects the wrong people are being punished for it. As soon as I saw the words FBI and witch in the same paragraph, I was hooked. I love urban fantasies. Now, I'm not even going to read any copy for this. The Elfstones of Shannara is Terry Brooks' second book in what was the original Shannara trilogy. MTV produced a Shannara series, and it's starting with Elfstones of Shannara. This is a re-release of the book, trying to bring people who maybe aren't familiar with the series back up to speed. Hidden away from the world by his mother, the powerful sorceress Heloise Oliver, Pierce has grown up working in her restaurant in Desolation Point. One day, unexpectedly, strangers pass through town on the way to the legendary capital city. Look for us, they tell Pierce. If you come to Severluna, you might find a place for yourself in King Arden's court. Lured by a future far away from the bleak northern coast, Pierce makes his choice. Heloise, bereft and furious, tells her son the truth about his father, a knight in King Arden's court, about an older brother he never knew existed, about his father's destructive love for King Arden's queen, and Heloise's decision to raise her younger son alone. The title is what nabbed me with this one. Kingfisher just makes me... It's an interesting word. I like the word. And then when I read the copy about it, that got me. So this one looks pretty interesting. It's 1800. Mad King George is on the British throne, and Bonaparte is hammering at the door. Magic is strictly controlled by the Mysterium, but despite severe penalties, not all magic users have been registered. Ross Tremaine, widowed, cross-dressing privateer captain and unregistered witch, likes her life on the high seas, accompanied by a boatload of swashbuckling pirates and the possessive ghost of her late husband, Will. When she pays a bitter deathbed visit to her long-estranged mother, she inherits a half-brother she didn't know about, and a task that she doesn't want. Open the magical Winterwood box and right an ancient wrong, if she can. First off, the cover, it's like a cool pirate lady. I really like the cover, and that hooked me in originally. But look, come on. That opening line, it's 1800, Mad King George is on the British throne, and Bonaparte is hammering on the door. I don't care that there's magic. I just want to know what's happening. I actually think I'm going to really enjoy this book. This will be interesting. Why did I choose a knitting book, you ask? Because I was cycling through Amazon, their new releases or upcoming releases, and I saw a book with knit socks on the cover. I like knitting. I've tried my hand at it a couple times. I have 2 scarves that I've started on 2 sets of needles that I've never finished in about 5 years. Why not? Why not sock knitting? So that rounds out this week's book release roundup. Tune in next week for more book releases. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up in February, a lot of interesting books. So I will see you next week, and thank you for watching.